took another 20 minutes of the mayor droning on about absolutely nothing to begin. His gaze felt soft, gentle even, from the audience, but as his eyes swept past mine, I felt a shiver. He gestured with a lazy flick of his hand, accompanied by the twinkling of jewels lining his wrist. We stepped forward in unison, laying our offerings in front of his feet. The row behind me with my brother followed, and slowly a ring of offerings around the mayor began to form. We once again stepped backwards, a wiggly line of children shifting uneasily, anxious in anticipation, our hands tugging at our sleeves. The mayor waved his hands, and a troop of guards came over, their movements rigid and robotic, almost like they were duplicates of each other. Their postures were impeccably perfect, straight-backed like a metal rod. I sighed in relief as I entered the mayor's building, the wind unable to penetrate the thick walls, a haven from the cold that forced its way through my clothes and clawed at my skin, leaving it raw and patchy like a desert. Glancing around in awe, I tried to take in the sights. The marble floor, the smooth white walls, the table with piles of sweet candy in a clear glass bowl, a chandelier at a height higher than my old house, its shards of glass reflecting light beautifully in the room. How could anyone ever have so much? My brother simply stared at the floor. The mayor was walking briskly ahead of us, whistling a tune that I'd never heard before.
Wow, that was outstanding. So, okay, I just want to point out how in that scene you describe the movement of characters without describing their physical features. I think it's very effective. And again, I just want to reiterate, it's not that you shouldn't ever describe a character's physical features. It's just that there might be more surprising ways of describing characters. So you have some really amazing behavioral descriptions in that section. You mentioned the mayor gestures with a lazy flick of the wrist. So good. The children are tugging at their sleeves. This indicates kind of unease, kind of discomfort, awkwardness, nervousness, something like that. And then you describe the bodyguards, I guess, of the mayor as being kind of rigid, robotic. Their backs are straight like metal rods. All that's really fantastic. There's a lot of movement in the scene, a lot of anxious movement, and the anxious movement is kind of contrasted with the rigidity and the robotic movement of the mayor and his people. But perhaps the most interesting thing, I was wondering as you were reading, I was like, where am I going to see the character? When am I going to feel like I can see the characters? It really happens when you start to describe the setting. So I see the characters in contrast to the setting. You describe the high ceilings, the large walls and tables, the chandelier, the kind of glass and all this. So the setting is very foreign to the characters. So I see them in contrast to the setting. There's a point at which the narrator says, "How can anyone have so much?" That's really a description of the character. That's really an indirect way of describing the character. The character is set in contrast with the setting. And then there's this incredible description. It's my favorite of all, where the mayor is singing or humming or whistling, I can't remember, a tune. And the protagonist says, "It's a tune that I didn't recognize or that I couldn't recognize." That's the moment where I feel like I have access to the character. It's, again, very indirect description, but it feels like you're saying something about the gap between the mayor and the protagonist. So again, I feel like I can see the character, understand the character in contrast with the setting. It's really brilliant. The description's just outstanding. Really great. Really indirect description, very effective characterization. It gives me a lot of kind of subtle access to the psychological state of mind that is inhabited by the protagonist. It's really great.